I'm Joe Barton with Barton Publishing.
And I'm the other Joe Barton with Barton Publishing.
Can you tell which of us is the real Joe Barton? That's what we want to know. Put it in the chat. Which one do you think is the real one? Is it behind door number 1, door number 2, or door number 3? A good looking cardboard cutout you have there. Oh, well,
yeah, that's stuff. A good looking cardboard cutout you have there.
Thank you.
You with the black striped shirt.
This is just a ruler. I know it's hard to tell.
He's not the real Joe Barton. I'm the real Joe Barton.
Oh, it's an exciting day. We're back on the Fixed Blood Sugar webinar. I think I missed last week, didn't I? Or did I? I don't remember. It's kind of
no, you were there.
A couple weeks ago.
Okay.
A couple weeks ago, we didn't have a webinar. It's the first time we didn't have a webinar in a long time.
Yeah, we were on vacation, all of us, I think. So
yeah, somebody likes my bow tie. Well, I like this tie.
Yeah,
I got it for Father's Day.
Really nice. That is nice. Did you do the split test with the bow tie and decided that it's okay to have regular ties?
Yeah. I just only have one bow tie, so I'd be wearing the same tie every day.
Someone wants the real Joe Barton to stand up. You know that one show where you like pretend and like, oh, who's gonna do it?
I was thinking of the Eminem song. Will the real Joe Barton please stand up? Please stand up. Sorry.
What is that? The Eminem store?
Song? Eminem.
Oh, I was thinking like, M&Ms that we're not supposed to eat.
Yes.
Got it. Eminem the rapper. Got it. Okay, well, enough of these shenanigans. Welcome, everybody. This is episode number 98 of the Fixed Blood Sugar webinar. And we are happy to be here with Dr. Scott Saunders and Leslie Prinz. And we are going to be talking about type 1 diabetes today, in addition to type 2. So this is the webinar that we do every Thursday at 11 a.m. Central Time. We do this to support our amazing customers of the Diabetes Solution Kit, which looks like this. And so if you're following this program, if you're reading this, we're here to help you along on your journey. We've had a lot of people join us over the last couple of years now. We're getting close to 2 years. And a lot of amazing success stories. We just had a recent one. Somebody's A1C was lowered from, was it like 12.3 down to 6 or maybe even under 6? I can't remember, but it was drastic. So just following the program. And that's 13.4 to 5.3. That's right there. Brian, that is amazing. So
that is amazing.
Yeah, we love to hear that. So we're going to take your questions throughout the webinar today, but we often get questions from people asking like, well, what about type 1 diabetes? Does this help for that? And I think it's around 10% of people with diabetes, 10% will have type 1, 90% will have type 2. And so Dr. Saunders, we're going to turn this over to you. You can kind of help explain the difference and then get into type 1. And I'll just give a quick disclaimer that this webinar is for informational purposes only. Any information we give, you should talk to your own healthcare professional because everybody's different, has their own unique situation. So with that, Dr. Saunders, take it away.
Okay, so type 1. Remember we were talking last week about type 2, how it's a disease of too much carbohydrates, too much fat, too much protein, too much triglycerides, too much insulin. It's all like too much of everything. And that's the type of disease it is. Well, type 1 is the opposite. It's not enough. So whereas in type 2, you get too much insulin, in type 1, you have not enough insulin. And what's really interesting is, why do they have the same name if they're opposite diseases? It doesn't make any sense. Well, the reason is because in the old days, before they had tests like blood tests or urine tests to look, everything was named by symptoms. And so the word diabetes means peeing too much. So if you had type 2 and you were insulin resistant, your blood sugar went up and you started peeing too much, you go, aha, you have diabetes. If you had type 1, then your insulin was too low and your blood sugar went up because you couldn't get any sugar into your cells and you started peeing too much. So you go, aha, you have diabetes. So they have the same name because they have one symptom in common. That's it. That's all there is to that. So other than that, they're like opposite diseases. So the reason that's so important is because people will ask, they'll look at the diabetes solution kit and they'll go, but I don't have type 2, I have type 1. Let me tell you a story. I have a patient. She is 18 years old. She went to her doctor because she was peeing too much, and the doctor said, you have type 1 diabetes. Here, take this insulin. She said, what do I eat? And they said, eat whatever you want. And if your blood sugar goes up because you're eating too much, just take more insulin. So she did what she was told, and her blood sugars were crazy. They were going way high, way low. She could not keep anything normal. Her hemoglobin A1C was creeping up and up and up into the 13s. And that's really high. So her average blood sugar was over 250 all the time. It's like really high 300s. And then, it's going up and down from there, getting up into the 500s sometimes, and really hard to control. And so we did some testing and found out her pancreas doesn't make any insulin, but she had insulin resistance, even though she didn't have any insulin. So she's got what? Type 1, doesn't make enough insulin, and type 2, she's resistant to insulin. So she injects insulin, it doesn't work very well. She injects more insulin, then she can drop too low. It's just really a all around difficult situation. And her mother was trying to help her, and they were going crazy. So what we did was put her on the diabetes solution kit, and she did the very low carbohydrate diet. So she's eating 20 grams of carbs a day. She's not eating after 6 o'clock in the evening. And she takes a long-acting insulin and then a short-acting insulin. And almost immediately, her blood sugar stabilized. They were still high. They were still over 200 most of the time, but they stabilized. And then she was able to go off the long-acting insulin and only use the immediate-acting insulin with meals. And her blood sugars improved a little bit. She's in the high 100s, so it's like 180, 190. It'll go up to 220. And so for the last month or so, she's been in there. But it's so much better. And that mom was telling me the other day, oh my gosh, this is like we were going crazy trying to figure sugars. The blood sugars they're not normal by any means, but she is able to figure it out. I have another patient that came in the other day, and he was diagnosed with diabetes, and they never tested for his insulin levels. So they started putting him on these diabetes medications. And he was on 3 medications, including metformin and 2 others. And his blood sugars were not well controlled, and he didn't know what to eat. He didn't know what to do. And so he came to me, we tested his insulin level, and it was 2, and that's really low. It should be 5 up to 10 is normal. And most people with type 2 diabetes, they'll have insulins that are high, that are over 10. And then we did the C-Peptide, and found out his pancreas is just not putting out very much insulin at all. He does make a little bit, but it's not enough for what he eats. So we had to get him off all of the medications and put him on insulin. Why? Well, when you have an insulin deficiency, you need insulin, and that's what type 1 is all about. But if you're not careful, if you just start injecting more insulin, then you can create type 2. So then you have type 1 and type 2. You have a lack of insulin and you have insulin resistance, and that's a big problem. I've seen that multiple times. People who are injecting large amounts, 100 units or more of insulin in a day because they're insulin resistant. So if you have those kinds of issues, the diabetes solution kit is the right thing to do. It still works. It still helps you be sensitive to insulin. Now, if you have type 1 diabetes and you need more insulin sensitivity, and you have what they call brittle diabetes, where it goes down way too far. When you inject insulin, you have insulin sensitivity, it goes down way too far. It means you need less insulin, but if you take less, then it goes up too high, and it's really hard to regulate this brittle type of diabetes. And it is type 1. You don't make any insulin. So what we do for that is completely different. And that is to be on a no-fat diet. So you can actually eat carbs with that type of type 1 diabetes. You can eat carbs, but you have no fat at all. You can't even have an avocado. It's a very, very low-fat diet. And what that does is, since fat makes you resistant to insulin, a very low-fat diet prevents insulin resistance from happening even when you're eating carbohydrates. So it allows you to eat carbohydrates and be able to get those carbohydrates into the cells easily so that they regulate instead of going, way too high when before, then you inject insulin, it goes in and drops too low. Instead of having those wide swings, it'll keep it in a more normal range. So no two people are exactly alike. And for type 1 with a lack of insulin, one of the problems that I have, and if any of you have any questions about this, go to your doctor and say, I need to know what my insulin levels are. Insulin and C-Peptide. C-Peptide is when the pancreas puts out insulin. And the reason that's important is because if you're injecting insulin, if you have type 1 and you're using insulin, and you measure just the insulin level, well, you've injected insulin. So you're going to be measuring that. And so you won't know if your pancreas is making it or not. So that's what the C-Peptide is about, is to tell you if your pancreas is making it. And that's type 1. The big question, does the diabetes solution kit help type 1? Well, yeah, it prevents you from getting type 2 on top of type 1. And it actually keeps your blood sugars more stable, at a more stable level, and it'll be much easier to control with just a few injections a day. And you'll know what's really cool about it is if you get one of those continuous glucose monitors, those are awesome. I've had several patients with those, and they're awesome. They're so good. Continuous glucose monitor, you can eat something, you just watch your blood sugar go up. You just run the thing over it. It gives you a graph of oops, I just ate a bunch of rice, and whoop, there it goes, shooting up, or I had those potatoes. Or looking at, like we said, the fat. Sometimes the fat will make you resistant, and it'll make your blood sugar go up because you can't bring the sugar into your cells as easily. So those continuous monitors are very helpful if you have type 1. Wonderful.
So does it track it only when you put your phone under it then? Or is it like sending a signal every once in a while?
No, it'll send the signal when you put your phone over it. And it'll record, it'll keep in memory a certain amount. So if you go a whole day without downloading it into your phone, then you'll have skips. You'll have it'll only download, so it'll only remember so much at a time.
Oh, so it's taking your blood sugar throughout the day, regardless if you use your phone, but then your phone downloads it basically.
Correct.
Okay. And then I was wondering, like, if you stick that under your arm or whatever, like if you're doing like curls or tricep extensions or anything like that, does it inhibit your use or anything?
No, it shouldn't affect it at all, because it's in the subcutaneous tissue. So it's in the fat. It's not even in the muscle. So it shouldn't affect the use of the muscle at all.
Okay. So it kind of just sticks to your arm. Does it have like
Yeah.
an adhesive or something?
Adhesive. Yeah.
Yeah.
It
Okay.
sticks on. And it's got a little needle, just one little needle poke, stick it on, and it's there.
Yeah. A little poke, kind of like a finger prick, but in your arm.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I might have to try that. And so how do you get that? Do you need to get a prescription or talk to your doctor?
Yeah. You probably need to get a prescription. I know the other ones, the finger stick ones, you can get over the counter, but I don't know if you can get the continuous monitors without a prescription.
Okay. Well, very interesting. Very good. It seems like you've talked about diabetes 1/2, I think, like 1/2, 1 and 2, right? Is that what they call it, or is it?
Yeah, diabetes 1.5. It's
One
not
and a
type
half.
2, it's not type 1. You still make a little bit of insulin, but it's not enough, and you have insulin resistance, so they call it 1.5.
Yeah.
Because if you were making sufficient insulin, then your blood sugar wouldn't go up.
Okay.
And so, I actually have a patient yesterday that came in with that one type 1.5.
Yeah. So you talked about fat and how that causes insulin resistance. And so in our phase 1, we tell people to drop their carbs down to 20 grams of carbohydrates, but which is typically, it's basically like a ketogenic diet, which you can eat a lot of fat. But so let's talk about fat a little bit. And if you're type 2, but not type 1.5, or, don't have problems with that, like, is it okay to eat higher amounts of fat, or how do you know?
Okay. Fat has a more immediate effect. It takes an hour, maybe 3 hours for the insulin, for the fat to block the uptake of sugar into the muscle cells primarily. And part of that is that the muscle cells at that point should be using fat for energy. But if you're not eating a lot of carbs and you don't have high insulin levels, it works fine. It's not a problem. The problem comes in when you're eating a lot of fat and you have high insulin levels, because the insulin blocks you from using fat for energy, and then the fat blocks you from using carbohydrates. And so then you have just weakness and a loss of energy, and more insulin resistance. So if the point of like the ketogenic diet, like with the diabetes solution kit, is you can eat fat, but you're not eating carbohydrates. So your blood sugar isn't going to go up, your insulin isn't going to go up. You're not going to have that block on both sides.
Okay. Great. Well, Leslie, it looks like we've got quite a few questions that have come in. So if we want to hand things over to you and start getting some of these asked and answered.
Awesome. Okay, question from Mohammed. He knows that smoking is not good for your health, but does it increase your blood sugar?
Oh, that's a great question. Smoking is not good for your health. I know smoking's bad for me. Patients come in that smoke. I ask them if they smoke. Well, yeah, I smoke a little bit. I know it's bad. You know what? I most of the time I don't tell people to stop smoking. I ask them if they want help quitting smoking, and they're like, "No, I'm good," or whatever. Then I leave it be. The more important than smoking is stress. So if like let me give you an example. People who smoke cigars, as a rule, in one study done, people who smoke cigars live longer than people who never smoke. Why is that? Well, because think about it. A cigar, you're not like sucking it into your lungs so much as puffing on it. And then you're sitting back and relaxed. Sitting back, smoke my cigar. And, that's after I've done a lot of a big, I don't know, I fixed something or won something or whatever. I did a lot of work, and now I'm going to sit back and relax and smoke my cigar. The relaxation is more important than the smoking. So we think of things that affect our health, and we're gonna talk about stress in a few weeks, about how stress is more important than all of the other things we think about: smoking or drugs or surgery or vitamins, and all that stuff is less important than stress. So how does smoking affect blood sugar? Well, it depends. If you go out and smoke and relax and your blood sugar drops down because you're not as insulin resistant, then that's a good thing. But specifically, is it bad for diabetes? No, nor good. Probably not either good or bad.
All right. Dottie is wondering what a good breakfast for type 2 would be. I've been eating a lot of pumpernickel toast with peanut butter, half a banana, and blueberries, but I guess that's a lot of carbs. Are eggs better?
That's a lot of carbs. Well, in a sense, yes, eggs are better. Eggs have all the nutrition you could possibly want, and they're really low in carbohydrates with good protein. So eggs are a good choice, but the bread and banana and carbohydrates are going to put a lot of carbs into your diet, and plus if you add in the carbs with fat, so if you're using butter and having milk or cheese or cream or anything like that, then those two, the combination of the two, causes insulin resistance and higher blood sugar and prevents the blood sugar from getting into your muscles. So a better idea would be like, if you were going to have eggs, that would be a good choice. I often have a salad in the morning. I know people go, oh, that's not a breakfast food, but I don't know. That's kind of just, it depends on how you look at it. When I was in the Philippines, we had fish and fruit and rice for breakfast. So, I don't, have fish for breakfast or something like that, or eggs or salad. I've had salmon salad. I often have leftovers. This morning, for example, I had a vegetarian stir fry that I had made 2 days before. That was my breakfast. So, yeah.
Yeah,
vegetables are great for breakfast.
I don't know how we got into that mentality that we have to eat certain breakfast foods. I don't know when that started, because I don't love breakfast foods. And so I had to retrain my brain to not worry about eating that. I actually went to, I don't have a lot of produce out of my garden yet, but I actually went to kind of like a fresh market, and they had zucchini and eggplant and summer squash. And I made like a ratatouille with that and put a little bit of marinara in it because I didn't have fresh tomatoes. And I ate that yesterday for breakfast. It was so good, and it was all good vegetables. So there's lots of options. Don't feel like you have to have breakfast foods. So leftovers are always good.
That's a good thought.
Yes. Let's see. This is great. Denise says, my husband has lost 22 pounds on phase 1. His blood glucose has been between 70 to 90. He is ready to go to phase 2. Yay. Yeah. What recipes can I make for him?
Oh, well, this is where you expand out. So you can use the same recipes that he liked on phase 1. And then you start expanding things and keep measuring your blood sugar. So when you add in things, you look for what's happening. So for example, this morning, Leslie had squash for breakfast. some people will tolerate squash really well, and other people with the squash, it'll drive their blood sugar up. So how do you know? Well, you're going to keep measuring the blood sugar. So start expanding out and looking at what other things that you can add in to the diet. Some people will tolerate quinoa really well. Quinoa is not really high in carbs, and it's kind of a rice substitute. You can make pilaf out of it and other things. And it's actually faster to cook too than rice. So add things in according to what you normally eat. Things like beans, peas, lentils, quinoa would be good, nuts and seeds, and see what happens to the blood sugar as you're adding these things in.
Okay, Gregory says, I got an immune support refill and the formula change with a lot of vitamin C. I already consume a lot of C. Can you take too much?
Well, it depends on who you're talking to. Linus Pauling was a researcher who did a lot of research on vitamin C, and he said, no, you can't take too much, because if you take too much, you're going to get diarrhea. And that's all that's going to happen. If you take more than your small intestine can absorb, it'll go into your large intestine and cause diarrhea. So no, you can't take too much. And he took over 10,000 milligrams a day for the rest of his life after he did some research, and actually lived a long life, lived into his 80s and was healthy the whole time. So I don't know that had anything to do with it, but yeah.
People do vitamin D cleanses too, so.
Right.
Okay, Rakat. Hello, good morning. I'm very confused how this plan can reverse type 2, but why should we keep taking medicine at the same time? And with phase 1, 2, 3, I'm a type 2 diabetic, insulin resistant. You said in the presentation that the doctor said you have to live your life with diabetes for the rest of your life. It cannot be reversed. I'm very confused who I should believe, but of course I believe in you guys.
Aw, okay. Yeah, you know what? It's not about what you know. It's about what you believe. Really, it's all about. So, okay. So believe the reality, and that is, the reality is, if something happened, it can reverse. We're not talking about a leg cut off or something like that. We're talking about a metabolic imbalance, and so it's on a scale, and you're looking at no diabetes here on the scale, and then it goes up, and you're pre-diabetes here, and then you have diabetes here, and then it's worse and worse as it goes up the scale. So if it's gone up the scale, it can go down the scale. Just like if your blood pressure goes up, you can take medications or do whatever it takes to bring it down again. And once you bring the blood pressure down, guess what? You have normal blood pressure. You don't have high blood pressure anymore. The same thing with diabetes. It can go up the scale and you can have diabetes, and then if you bring it back down the scale, then you no longer have diabetes. What does that mean? Well, it means you don't currently have any symptoms. We use the word remission. Remission means, well, you still have it, but we just can't see it because there's no evidence for it. So you can do all the testing you want. You can do the hemoglobin A1C and the sugar and the insulin levels and pancreas, whatever, and everything, all your tests are normal. Well, do you still have diabetes? Well, no, but since you had it in the past, if you go back to eating the way you were before, then of course it's going to come back, because you already have that, at least the propensity for it.
Today's Fixed Blood Sugar webinar is sponsored by Synachroma, our best-selling advanced blood sugar support formula. Now, thousands of people around the world are taking Synachroma every day as part of their program to fix their blood sugar using natural ingredients that simply work. Now,
Dr. Saunders formulated Synachroma to meet key nutritional deficiencies that most people have unknowingly suffered from for far too long. With Synachroma, you get a blend of 6 key ingredients. The perfect combination of chromium, vitamin D3, and vitamin K2, which it's important to take those two together, selenium, vanadium, and our 10-to-1 cinnamon bark extract. Now, if you're not already using Synachroma, I highly recommend that you give it a try and see how it helps your energy, your weight, and your blood sugar numbers. You can get Synachroma at bartonnutrition.com or on Amazon. If you get it at bartonnutrition.com, you can enter the coupon code webinar25 and you'll save 25% off at bartonnutrition.com. But I realize some people like to go to Amazon as well. So anyways, Synachroma, highly recommend. Now let's get you back to the Fixed Blood Sugar webinar.
Mike says, good morning, Dr. Saunders. I'll just keep it with one question today. He says, I'm taking the Nervala and Synachroma. I'm following a very strict diet of healthy keto. And for the past 3 days, I've been doing just a vegan diet. My question is today, how do I get rid of this on and off burning feet feeling? It's diabetic nerve pain. I'm taking everything described by you guys, and I take nothing else. My blood sugar is never over 130, which is rare. Thank you, and God bless you all.
Okay, that's a good question. So if you're taking everything, you're probably taking Nervala. Nervala has two, they're not medications, 2 supplements in it. One of them is a type of vitamin B1 that repairs the lining of the blood vessels, and the other one is alpha lipoic acid that helps to improve nerve function. It's an antioxidant primarily. So you have those 2 things which have been shown to improve nerve function. Now you have other issues that go on, and that is your blood sugar is never over 130. That's great. If your hemoglobin A1C is around 5.0, then it's not a blood sugar issue specifically. So what else can you do? Everything that you want to do is to improve blood flow to get those nerves working again. Exercise is a great way to help the neuropathy as well. I often give patients vitamin B12 shots, okay, because the pills you can absorb, even if you take more vitamin B12, you're only going to absorb a certain amount either way. And if you have any inhibition in your stomach acid being produced, it's called intrinsic factor, or some inflammation in your distal small bowel that you don't even know about that's preventing it from being absorbed. Or if it just goes by it too fast and that's not working right, then absorption could be an issue. And the shots, sometimes I've had it work several times where it just works wonders and does amazing things for neuropathy. So vitamin B, so have your doctor give you vitamin B12 shots. And it's usually about 5 shots in a row. And that could be once a week or every few days. That works just fine. And after 5 shots, if you haven't seen improvement, then you're probably not going to see improvement. That's kind of the way it works. If it's not the bottleneck, if it's not the problem, then that's not going to work. So then one other thing to try is the MTHF, methyl tetrahydrofolate. And it's a folic acid. It's a special folic acid that is methylated, and it helps with the detox and cleansing and helps the nerves function better as well. So also called methylfolate or 5-methylfolate. There's a lot of names for it, but just if it has the methylfolate or MTHF, then it's an activated folic acid that helps the nerves function better, helps energy being made better as well.
Okay. Question from Meg. Weird question. She says, does the color of poop, especially a greenish aspect, mean that bile is more involved in digestion? And what way? And is this indicative of positive or negative?
Good question, actually. So the color of poop. What makes the color of poop the color of poop? Well, when people don't make bile, so you're talking about bile acids that come from the liver to allow you to digest and absorb fats, right? And so then that bile goes down into the large intestine, and it's made into biliverdin and all that. That has kind of a greenish color. So then there's the brown, the green, the yellow. If you don't have any bile, people that have like obstruction in their liver or something, or the liver's not making bile, the stool, the poop looks gray. It's like a whitish gray color. So yeah, that's where the color comes from. She's absolutely right. But what does it mean? Well, that's where it gets kind of sticky, where there's a lot of factors involved in that, and how much of it is bilirubin, which is more yellow, and how much is biliverdin, which is more green, and the mixture together kind of makes it brown. And so there's more or less of one of those, depending on the type of bacteria you have in your intestines. So we have hundreds of different kinds of bacteria. And so whatever's growing in the intestines is going to change to some extent the color of the poop. Now, there's other things that do that too. If you ever notice, like if you just like for one meal, you have a big bowl of blueberries, that's all you eat, blueberries. Then you'll notice that your poop is really green the next day. That's the coloring. The way it's processed is it turns from the blue to sort of the greenish color. And so what you eat has something to do with it as well, though not as much. But I can't say if it's good or bad. I can't say that the color can tell you whether it's good or bad.
Paul says,
I don't know.
I've been eating bread in the morning that has 10 grams of carbs, 4 grams net per slice for many months. Is this a healthy food to eat during phase 1? Lots of questions about bread, guys. Lots of questions.
Yeah.
I get it. Bread's good. Yeah. I'm concerned about the 10 grams of protein. I think maybe means carbs. I don't know.
Carbs. No, he said 10 of protein and 4 of carbs, right?
Oh, there we go.
The net carbs is 4. Yeah. So yes, protein can also raise the insulin levels along with the carbs. But just it's okay. Count the carbs. Just like it says, make it simple. And if you find that it's not working for you very well, then that's something you can leave out and say, okay, I'm gonna put that aside, and I'm not gonna eat it right now, and I'm gonna see how things work without that bread. Because I know for me, I love bread, and I look around and I go, gosh, I need some bread. Don't have any bread. I didn't buy any. And so I get it, but just count the carbs. Just do the program the way it says. And most often that works well, even if you do have some bread with 4 grams of carbs, because that only amounts to 1/5 of the carbs that you can have.
Okay, question from Krish. I have a question on type 2 in regard to synochroma, which when taken as stated in the diabetes reversal book, both sugar and A1C comes down. I also noticed that my body weight has also come down markedly. In my case, from 152 to 137, and my A1C is currently 6.4. Is loss of body weight, and is it part of the sugar reduction process? Thanks.
Yes, and not necessarily. They could be 2 separate things going on at the same time. For example, they could be the same thing also. For example, the chromium, if you're deficient in chromium, you're going to be inefficient at using sugar for energy. And then you'll tend to store more fat. So if you take chromium and you replenish the supply of chromium and things start functioning better, then you'll use up fat more easily and you'll burn your sugar more efficiently. So it could be that, there's something in the synachroma that specifically your body needs that's working in both to lower the blood sugar and to start using fat for energy.
Okay, I'm going to quick address this question. If someone was interested in meeting you in person, where are you located and how can they get a hold of you? At your office, not like at your home.
Located. Yeah, I'm located in Santa Barbara, California. So I have had people come from all over. And then phone number is 805-688-7171.
Okay, I'll type that in the chat. All right, here's another good question. Carl says, I apologize if you've covered this already, but what do you guys think about fruit? This is all over the place. I met with a nutritionist who told me that fruit sugar is sugar. The body does not make any distinction. I went home and Time magazine covered fruit and diabetes, and their take on it is that fruit sugar is different from other sugars and metabolized more slowly. And the Mayo Clinic says not to regulate the amount of fruits eaten by diabetics, although they caution that vegetables are better than fruits. Also, what about coffee? Right? What about coffee? And the field is all over the place. Such good questions, Carl.
Yeah. Okay. So what about fruit? Fruit sugar is sugar. Before we had a lot of processed sugar available, people still got diabetes on eating fruit sugar. They would eat fruit, drink fruit juice, and of course there were other like drinks and stuff that would have sugar in them. But that was a disease of the royalty. Because they could afford to live on fruit and eat a lot of fruit and get overweight and then get type 2 diabetes. So fruit sugar is sugar, but it is metabolized differently. So like everybody's right in a way, they're just narrowly focusing on their specific part instead of looking at the big picture and saying, okay, what about for me? How does sugar, fruit sugar affect me specifically? Some fruits are very high in sugar. Pineapples, bananas, mangoes, these tropical kinds of fruits are actually really high in sugar, and they don't have a lot of fiber. So if you were to eat like a lot of watermelon, you would get a lot of sugar with very little fiber, has a very high glycemic index, will drive your insulin up really a lot and cause you to be more insulin resistant. Whereas if you were to eat a fruit like a tomato or an avocado, you would probably have not even a little blip in your blood sugar. So and they're all over the map, everything in between. So it's not that avoid fruit, eat fruit, that's not it. Just make it simple and stick to the 20-gram carbohydrate. And if that includes fruit, if you eat an apple, you're pretty much done for the day. So that's all the carbs you're going to get. And that's okay. If that's the way you want to do it, that's okay. Because it still works, even when you're getting fruit sugar. And then when you're on phase 2, someone asked about that earlier, and you want to add fruit in, then start adding low glycemic fruits like berries, strawberries, and blueberries, and that kind of fruit. They're pretty high in fiber and pretty low in sugar, so they have a slow absorption. They don't have a high glycemic index, so they may not raise your blood sugar very much. Whereas I don't know, you may tolerate watermelon and mango, which are pretty high in sugar. So it's not a yes or no question. It's really it's all over the map and what works for you specifically. And that's why we set the program up the way we did, to start off with just cut it out at first. Just get rid of even the fruit, everything at first. And then start adding it in after your blood sugars are normal. Then start adding in the fruit and seeing what happens.
Gregory is wondering if you've heard of any smartwatches that have come out with glucose monitoring yet. He's heard rumors.
I've heard rumors. I have heard rumors of that. It's not even a pin. It measures the sweat coming out and how much sugar. But as far as I know, it's still just a rumor. I haven't actually seen any prototypes or anything. No beta testing in my corner yet.
Awesome. Okay. Here is a fun testimonial from Andy. Week 10, 30 pounds lighter. A1C was 14 plus, but with the data from the Libre 14-day sensor, my A1C will be less than 6 when I get checked in a couple of weeks. Typical fasting number, I know. Typical
That's
fasting
great.
number is, well, go ahead.
That's non-diabetic, by the way, less than 6. So going from plus 14, that's dramatic. That's remarkable. Non-diabetic. See, somebody asked that question. Is it really possible to reverse diabetes? Right? Somebody asked that question. Here you go. Perfect example. He had diabetes. Now he doesn't have diabetes.
Yes.
By the numbers.
He also says typical fasting number is in the mid 70s. Average blood sugar is mid 90s. Thank you so much. And I can provide a testimonial if you like. Andy, yes. I think I just sent you my email address. Could you email me, please? And it also says, fanatic about following the diabetes solution kit. His wife has lost 26 pounds just following the diet. No medical reason. Loves the weight loss though. That is awesome.
Huh. That's great.
So cool.
I have a couple doing that right now, where he has diabetes and he's on the solution kit. She goes, well, I'll just do it with him. And she's lost a lot, 10 pounds, but still doing well.
So good. So good. Love these stories. Thank you, Andy. And congratulate your wife too. It's a big deal to do it together. It makes things a lot easier when the both of you are doing it. So congratulations to her, and what an awesome wife for supporting you. That's so cool. All right. Let's see. Mark from New Jersey. Okay. It says, are you good all day? Okay. So I think he's saying he feels good all day with the carbs. And then at nighttime, I feel like I'm dying if I don't have a piece of bread with peanut butter. What can I substitute that will fill me and satisfy me? I know you talk a lot about carrots. Yes, Dr. Saunders snacks on carrots and he thinks they taste all different, but he's special when it comes to foods because I feel like that's not going to work for me. So let's see what else.
Okay.
What else?
Yeah, is it the bread or the peanut butter? I don't know. But what about celery? We used to make these celery sticks and put peanut butter in them, and that might be a good choice. And you would have the peanut butter, and you'd have crunchy celery, and it tastes pretty good too. That might satisfy.
That's true. And even making sure, someone else had asked how much protein should we be eating in a day? I think also if you're not getting enough protein, you may still feel really hungry. So maybe we could address that as well.
Yeah. A lot of people feel satiated when they get fat and protein together. That's actually a pretty good combination for feeling satiated. However, if I can tell you at night, it's okay to be hungry. And in fact, it's okay to go to bed hungry. And it's actually really good for you because there's a hunger hormone that's called ghrelin. And that hormone does a lot of benefits for your body. It rebuilds your stomach and intestines. It actually repairs your brain and makes you more sensitive to endorphins so that you're not, so you don't get pain as much. So being hungry at night when you go to bed is a very good thing. And so if you look at it from that point of view and go, okay, I'm supposed to go to bed hungry, so that's okay, and just tell your body, okay, I'm hungry, I get it, but I'm okay with that because it's nighttime. And then when you get up in the morning, eat breakfast, and that's a better way to go. So as far as being satiated, yeah, that's one of the reasons we chose to have the low carbohydrate diet, is because it's a lot easier to eat smaller amounts and still get satiated because you're getting the fats and the proteins.
Meg is wondering, when you're eating protein, is that a good time to take digestive enzymes to make sure that the highest protein meals are fully digested?
Yeah, good question. The answer is yes. And in fact, that's probably the most important, because it's the protein digestion that suffers when you don't have enough stomach acid, for example. And so the enzymes that you're taking will do more good for the high protein meals.
Okay. Let's see, Mark, I just heard you say that you have salad for breakfast. What do you put in it for protein?
Oh, it depends on what's there. Today, I didn't have anything that was specifically protein. I just had a stir fry. It has some coconut milk in it, and as a sauce in the stir fry, and it's just vegetables, and that's all. I have had salmon salad in the morning, and that's really good too. So it's not that you have to have a lot of protein. Interestingly, because we have so much variety and so much food available, one way to look at longevity is there's three things you want to avoid: carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. And there's one thing you want more of, and that's fiber. So the more fiber you can get, the better off you are. And you can't really avoid carbohydrates, fats, and proteins, but don't go out of your way to pack in more of those three, the calorie types. But you should go out of your way to pack in more of the fiber types.
Okay. Let's see. Anonymous says, my last lab test showed that my A1C dropped 10 points, but my cholesterol increased 5 points. Why would this happen?
Oh, good question. Okay. The A1C dropping 10 points is amazing. That's quite dramatic. But cholesterol going up 5 points is within the range of normal for the lab. So the lab has a 10% error rate expected. So you expect if your cholesterol's around 200, then you get plus or minus 20 in there is going to be okay. So that's a lot. Most labs are much better than that. But if there is that amount of error, it's not unexpected. So the cholesterol going up 5 points, it could be that it's exactly the same, and then that's just the difference in the lab. But either way, it's not a problem. It's not a significant amount. What might be really interesting is to look at the cholesterol versus the HDL ratio, cholesterol to HDL ratio, because if your hemoglobin A1C dropped that much, that ratio should have dropped down. You know, if it was in the 4s, it should have dropped down into the 3s, maybe. I don't know, because the total cholesterol is made up of LDL, HDL, and a couple VLDL and others. So the total to HDL, which is the good cholesterol, is a good ratio to look at, because that's actually more predictive of things like vascular disease and heart disease.
Okay, Meg says, can you explain why there may be more nerve zaps briefly, or not sometimes, in many areas of the body? By no means just feet. Are nerves reawakening, or is this a bad sign of something?
Good question. Nerve zaps happen for a lot of different reasons. It could be deficiencies of various kinds, magnesium, vitamin B12, other B vitamins would be something that's possible. There could be something else going on, some inflammation of some kind. If it's not just your feet, the reason the feet are a big deal is because in order for the nerve cell to receive the information, it has to go all the way from your toe. It's got like a long way to travel to get up to the cell, which is actually in the spinal cord. And so that is that's why it tends to be in the feet more in diabetes. The other nerve zaps, that's for other reasons. There's something else going on, and finding the cause of that would be a good idea.
Okay, Coney had said to the person who had problem with their feet, he got an orthotics and it helped with his foot pain.
Oh, okay. Of course. Yeah. If there's like flat feet or some problem. Yeah.
Okay. William says, advice on decaf coffee or unsweetened tea. Can you drink this in moderation? And if not, what would be a good thing to drink other than water?
Well, decaf coffee and unsweetened tea are probably fine. There's been so much research on coffee. It's really good. It's really bad. But overall, there's never been any specific problem associated with coffee besides the caffeine itself, which can make people nervous and jittery. If it doesn't make you nervous and jittery or prevent you from sleeping, then by itself, it doesn't cause cause problems. So either way, the coffee and tea are probably okay, as long as you're not putting a bunch of carbs in it or sweeteners or anything like that. And then other teas, I've had a lot of people use herbal teas. They just switch to chamomile and peppermint, and there's a combination that I found really good, and that is ginger with licorice. It makes a really good tea. So then you can sip your tea and have and not have to worry about putting stuff in it.
All right. 2 minutes before Dr. Saunders goes to see more patients, and we have one question left. So this is a miracle that we got through as many as we did. Krish says, are the omega-3 and 6 fatty acids derived from different types of fish? And are they different in absorption and metabolism?
Yes, to all of the above. Yes, they come from different, there's krill oil, some come from salmon, some come from cod, and some come from they just generally just put all fish in the same bundle and extract the oil out of them. So they come from a lot of different sources. And then are they different? Yes, they're different. But as far as the utilization of that specific type of oil, the oil is the oil, but there are other differences that you have to be concerned with, and that is those omega-3 oils go rancid quickly. They oxidize. And if you've ever seen or ever used paints, the oil paints, just the classic oil paints, are made out of linseed oil, which is flaxseed oil, and they don't dry; they just oxidize and harden, and that's why the oil paintings can last so long, because it's not really a drying process; it's just a hardening process, and because they oxidize, but they oxidize in the air pretty quickly. So the thing about omega-3 is keep them in the refrigerator. Keep them from oxidizing, and if they come in capsules, that's a good thing. That's you can take capsules because there's no air in the capsules, but still keep them in the refrigerator. That's a good idea so that they don't oxidize quickly. If you're using flax seeds or flaxseed oil, instead of having the oil that you pour or the flaxseed meal, just keep the seeds whole and then throw the seeds in a coffee grinder or something and grind them up and put them in your a smoothie or whatever you're using, or sprinkle them on your cereal, whatever you're doing. Grind them right there and then eat them. And don't leave them sitting out, because then the oils will go rancid. So both fish oils, flaxseed oils, whatever, omega-3, they tend to oxidize easily.
Awesome. All right. Another great hour of the Fixed Blood Sugar webinar. Thank you, Dr. Saunders.
You're welcome.
I tell you what, yeah, that was a good time. My wife, I think, came up with those for our retreat and my birthday celebration. So that was fun. But anyways,
yeah,
thanks
all right,
for spending
take
an hour.
care.
Bye, Dr. Saunders.
Bye.
Bye.
Today's Fixed Blood Sugar webinar is sponsored by Cinechroma, our best-selling advanced blood sugar support formula. Now, thousands of people around the world are taking Cinechroma every day as part of their program to fix their blood sugar using natural ingredients that simply work. Now, Dr. Saunders formulated Cinechroma to meet key nutritional deficiencies that most people have unknowingly suffered from for far too long. With Cinechroma, you get a blend of 6 key ingredients. The perfect combination of chromium, vitamin D3, and vitamin K2, which it's important to take those two together, selenium, vanadium, and our 10-to-1 cinnamon bark extract. Now, if you're not already using Cinechroma, I highly recommend that you give it a try and see how it helps your energy, your weight, and your blood sugar numbers. You can get Cinechroma at bartonnutrition.com or on Amazon. If you get it at bartonnutrition.com, you can enter the coupon code webinar25 and you'll save 25% off at bartonnutrition.com. But I realize some people like to go to Amazon as well. So anyways, Cinechroma, highly recommend. Now let's get you back to the Fixed Blood Sugar webinar.
Thanks, everyone, for spending an hour of your summer with us. It's so good to see so many people joining us, and we love to hear your comments and questions and testimonials. And I mentioned this in the chat, but if you've got a testimonial and would be brave enough to record a video of yourself, we'd love to have you share that. And Leslie, would you say, what would you recommend? Put it on Facebook or emailing it to you, or?
Either way, if you want to send it to me, it's leslie@bartonpublishing.com, LESLIE. Or if you're a part of the Barton Webinar Facebook page, that's a great place to post them. And then other people get to see them and feel encouraged and all of that. So
yeah,
either way is great.
If you want help, we can set up a Zoom call privately with you, and then we can just ask you questions and you can tell your story and record it. And that's another way to do it as well. So yeah. All right. Well, good job. This was great. Very helpful information. Lots of great questions. And we'll see everybody. Well, I won't be here next week, but Dr. Saunders and Leslie will be. And I think next Tuesday also is the Low Carb with Dana webinar. And so if you're not signed up for that, go to bartonwebinar.com and register. You can scroll down the page a little bit and see that. And that's also very good, helpful information on cooking low carb, more recipe ideas, things like that. And yeah, I think that's about it. And so next week, Thursday, will be episode 99. And then the week after that, we're going to do episode 99 and a half. And because I'm not going to be able to be there. So I'm going to be at kids camp, Royal Family Kids Camp that week. So I'm going to be doing all sorts of fun stuff, but unplugged. So, that's what it was. Thank you, Andrew. So how do you get the 25% discount? Great question. So there's 2 ways to do it. If you've got our catalog, there's a coupon code right in the catalog that you can use to save 25%. Otherwise, just use webinar 25. You put that in the coupon code section in the checkout area, and you'll save 25% off on your purchase at bartonnutrition.com or bartonpublishing.com, and you can get to all of our sites and products from bartonwebinar.com. So that's it. Thank you all very much for joining us. Thank you, Leslie.
You're welcome. See you
Alrighty.
Tuesday and Thursday of next week, guys.
All right. Take care. Bye. God bless.
Bye-bye.